someone, or are you personally battling a drug and alcohol addiction? Why are so many people addicted today? And why have so many people died as a direct result of this disease? If you've been affected by this problem and want answers like we do, then join us in our efforts to face this disease. Our purpose is to examine the truths, expose the lies, and uncover and provide resources to this affliction. Come, join us in this journey.
I was 26 years old. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of a movie theater getting high.
I was an outcast my whole life, I didn't know where I belonged.
Knocking my head against the wall over and over and over again.
So I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I heard a message that made my ears pop.
People who I can relate to and identify with. Managed to heal relationships, start families, and be happy with life.
Drug problem? We can help. We've been there. Narcotics Anonymous.
Are you addicted to drugs? Narcotics Anonymous can help. If you are interested in Narcotics Anonymous and cannot make it to a physical meeting, or are wanting to experience the Fellowship of Recovering Addicts online, visit virtual-na.org to learn more about online meetings and meetings over the phone.
Charlene DeChico here with Addiction and Recovery TV. We're looking forward to another great season here at Addiction and Recovery TV. Thank you for tuning in and supporting us in our efforts. This season on Addiction and Recovery TV, we'd like to highlight some spiritual aspects of dealing with mental health. Hopefully this season we will provide inspiration and hope for any and all those that are watching our broadcast. Hi, welcome to Addiction and Recovery TV. I'm your host, Charlene DeChico, and I'm sitting here today with Christopher McCumber, or shall I say Chris?
Yep.
All right, well, welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us here today. We've been letting you know that we're going to talk more this year about spiritual principles and how people are dealing and coping with life on life's terms. So Chris is going to talk to us a little bit today about how he helps individuals that struggle in this area and just his role in the world of mental health. So Chris, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing.
So I am a person in long-term recovery myself, which means I haven't had a mind or mood-altering substance since May 5th, 2001.
Awesome.
Helping people has always been a passion of mine. So I continue to work in this field ever since I got clean. I did inpatient counseling, outpatient counseling, aftercare, family programs, and things like that. But one of the things that's taken place right now is we know that over the course of this opioid epidemic that had taken place, a lot of things have changed in the treatment industry. The face has changed.
Right.
The needs have changed. We have, not only are we losing addicts from overdose, but parents are finding new ways to deal and cope. They're having grief and loss things. We have more grandparents who are becoming parents again than ever. So one of the things that's taken place, treatment works. We know treatment works. It's education and information.
Like facilities, inpatient, outpatient, detox, whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is really pertinent to what's taking place right now. A lot of facilities were, especially incarcerated facilities, county jails, state prisons, were releasing people with no means of recovery, no aftercare plan, so to speak.
And this is where we find the problem and what we like to talk about, because we've been noticing and talking about on Addiction and Recovery TV that the addict that still suffers is the addict who maybe has received treatment, but then after isn't always able to maintain the recovery or the sobriety that they may have received in going to treatment or even taking a medication or whatever, detox, short term, which probably would really not give them an opportunity to learn something new. So this aftercare is where we see the need and the demand. So Chris, you're working in that arena, right?
Yes.
So how does this play such an important role in recovery?
So one of the things I've noticed over the years is, I think it was, maybe 2012 or 13, I had been working in the field and doing a lot of sober living. Most people leave treatment facilities and then move into a sober living house, which is a bunch of other people in sobriety or living clean, and they help each other stay clean, and they make different 12-step modality meetings and things of that nature. But I was in that field for quite some time and playing a big role in that, assisting people into getting into these houses. But one of the things I noticed that was happening was, you know, and in fact, a little incident that I had myself was some of the kids, they go back to what they know. They go back out on the street and they go back to because they want to have fun.
Right.
You got 19, 18-year-old IV drug users or pill users, and they come home from treatment. They want to do something fun. They want to do something so they still feel normal.
Sure.
They want to feel like they feel part of something.
Right. And the sober living is just like a place to live. It's not a treatment facility or
No.
an aftercare program, right?
Right.
So there's a gap there.
Yes.
So
yes.
talk to us, tell us a little bit about bridging the gap and how what you do. What is your role? How do you see yourself bridging the gap?
So I started a nonprofit organization called the Hope All Day Foundation. And how that came about was I had been involved in some sober living stuff, and one of the children the guys that was in the house had relapsed and he had to leave. He went to a motel, and his mom
Okay.
came down and she said to me, I want to take him to one of those classes. And I said, well, they're not until, she was talking about meetings, and
Right.
they're not until tonight. And she said to me, which was heartbreaking, she said, so there's no hope for my son until
wow.
tonight? And
Wow.
and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, well, we need to find a place where there's hope all day, every
Wow.
day. So that's when it started. That was the inception of the idea of creating
all
this
day.
atmosphere where people in the recovering community, whether they're new, have some time, could come and commune in one place. And today they call them peer recovery community centers. So
Okay.
Hope All Day was actually the first peer recovery community center in Atlantic County, New Jersey.
Amazing.
Where we had over 1,000 walk-ins weekly. We had over 62 12-step modalities that were meeting. Family program, adolescent program, groups. But more importantly, it was a place where they could come and socialize
Right.
in recovery in between 12-step meetings.
Right.
So
a safe place.
A safe place.
Wow.
We had a cafe. We had a lot of different
Events too, right?
music events. They did volleyball, ping pong, pool tables. I mean, there was a lot of social activities that took place there that normally wouldn't take place
Right.
outside of the 12-step atmosphere.
So we see this senator, this Hope All Day Foundation, and it's bridging the gap, right? You guys are in position, you're helping individuals, but there's a lot of people in the system and incarcerated. And so where is the part where the facilities actually get to partner with the system so the system can recognize, listen, what you guys are doing works,
Right.
it helps, and we need to get on board with that.
Right.
So now your role today is
Yes,
that kind of...
and that's kind of where I'm at today right now is we're getting ready to open up a new facility, and my personal job, what I do for a living, is I work for a college that we go into the state prisons
Okay.
and we provide a wellness plan for the inmates that are getting ready to leave, and then we follow them on the street
Wow.
for a year after they leave incarceration. But we link them to all the services they would need: medically assisted treatment, housing, social services, food, driver's license connections. We link them up with vocational rehabilitation services, VOA housing, things that
Wow.
normally they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have those
Sure.
connections
And that's
leaving
been the problem,
incarceration.
right?
I myself had that situation.
Okay.
When I left incarceration,
You didn't
they
have-
gave me a bus ticket and $26 and said, "Good luck."
Wow, what a major difference. I mean, it's like, so is this court mandated, state mandated? How did this come about?
Well, it's actually a volunteer program, so the inmates actually can go on the JPay, which is a form of communication
Sure.
with the system, and they can sign up for this program. The inmates in the facilities in New Jersey prisons, there's a form of communication called JPay. They can go on the kiosk, JPay, and send a message to the either mental health or addiction services within the prison and request to sign up voluntarily for IRTS.
So then the journey begins, or the aftercare, continuum of care. And so
It's the warm handoff, Shar, so to speak. So
Okay.
the system has done their job. Supposedly they set these guys up with this service, and then when they get into the community, now the community can embrace them. And what I mean by that, the recovering community.
right.
So they can either go to the recovery centers, but there's
Wow.
other organizations that are doing great grassroots nonprofit boots on the ground work. You have Angels in Motion, Adam O'Brien Foundation. There's tons of them.
And this is in New Jersey.
And this is obviously in New Jersey. Stop the Heroin. Just Believe. My friend Paul has a place for homeless addicts in Ocean County, New Jersey. So there's a lot that's happening, and I really think that, you know, the more that we continue to do this stuff, the more the state is going to realize that the people that are doing the work are the people that have boots on the ground.
Wow. So let's say, okay, someone in Los Angeles, okay, we in the LA area, Hollywood in particular, we have a lot of people who are homeless and maybe struggle with mental health issues, and they're also substance abuse users. Is it possible that they can pick up the phone and call one of these places? If someone, of course, would have to get from LA to the East Coast, but I mean, is that how it works? If you need help today and you want to find one
Absolutely.
of these resources and you're not in prison, can you?
Yes.
Will someone, like, who do you call to
Well,
get this?
right
type?
now in Atlantic County, you can call Hope All Day. You can call the Hope All Day Foundation, and we will link you to the services that are needed. You can call the Adam O'Brien Foundation. Atlantic County, New Jersey also has a van. It's called the Hope One van that's run by the sheriff of our county, and they park in different locations all throughout Atlantic County, and you can actually get access to treatment same day.
That's amazing. And so if you're watching Addiction and Recovery TV today, please call us, reach out. If you know someone or you yourself are struggling, we're here to help you. And absolutely we will get you in touch with Chris and his resources, because it looks like Atlantic County is real, and New Jersey as a whole is really stepping up to the plate with helping.
Oh, yeah. So,
you
I
know?
mean, and you know, I look back on my journey in recovery personally.
Sure.
And what's really the movement now is you know, we can treat our way out of this, which is really not working.
Right. Temporary fix, right?
Temporary solution. But I think the long-term plan is to help these young men and women find a passion and a purpose.
Right.
You know, one of the things that happened at the recovery center where we run, we had 62 volunteers.
Right.
We had a 4-panel board of directors and 10 other volunteers that helped run the day-to-day operations of the recovery center. But out of those 62 volunteers, this was 2014 to date, out of those 62 volunteers, 39 of them are still in recovery, and
Wow.
20 of them actually work in the field. So giving back to people and helping. So finding a passion and a purpose is really what this is all about. Giving them something they can really kind of sink their teeth in and grab onto, and hope that a better life is possible for them. And if they can have fun, they'll stay. If we
Right.
make recovery cool, they'll stay.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I mean, #Destiny, finding your purpose and passion. That's all about what we talk about at Addiction and Recovery TV, because, you know, if you don't know who you are and what it is that you're setting out to do, you're basically lost. And, you know, in a religious world, which is very interesting, they talk about sin, right? But nobody looks up the word and knows from its Aramaic roots that sin actually means to hit a miss, missing the target. So in other words, if you don't know who you are and you haven't gotten in tune with, like you said, your purpose and your passion, you get lost and you do these other things, which nowadays seems to be substance abuse or self-medicating. And it's not the doing the drugs or the crimes that people do that is the sin. It's the losing of self. You know, you can't lose, you know, as being human and being here, finding out that you really have to know who you are and stay in that position is really key, whatever that is. And I mean, but that seems so hard.
And Charlene, now I got to tell you, with the COVID crisis,
Sure.
addiction in and of itself is a disease of isolation
Okay.
and loneliness and separation.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
Before
So
COVID.
now put COVID on top of that, and we already isolate and separate ourselves from people that don't agree with our lifestyle when we're in active addiction.
Sure.
But now imagine how they feel when the services that would be available to them are no longer available because they're shut down because of the COVID.
How these last couple of months, because now hopefully we're coming out of the dark on that. I mean, who's to say what could happen, but at least you have a little bit of conditioning. What was
Yeah.
the last few months of dealing with, you know, how did you give that support to individuals?
Well, we
through
really
COVID?
went through a big change, and I got to say, there's a blessing in disguise here. You know, we have a internet platform that allowed 12-step modalities and other faith-based modalities host meetings on those platforms, and we were able to reach hundreds and thousands of people in recovery from all over the world. So it didn't stop. The message that recovery is possible and there is hope is still available.
Right.
And then also we've learned some things that we can do this job of connecting people to resources and services
No matter what, right?
via the internet.
Right. Just being willing and able to do it no matter what, right?
No matter what.
Well, you know what, Chris, you shared with us so much valuable information, and we can see that, Atlantic County, New Jersey, the East Coast has really taken initiative with this continuum of care. And the West Coast, they have different models, and you talked a little bit about how there's different models where if someone goes to treatment, they can then work and serve in the facility. And so there's a lot of people that are counselors that went through the program, and we see that as very efficient. And just like what you're saying here, people go through the program and they stay connected. They get roots. And this continuum of care is what's working and helping. But there's so many people that are struggling, and at that initial state, they're just lost. They're feeling hopeless. Like you founded an organization called Hope All Day. So many of the people are hopeless.
Yes.
So in sharing your story, sometimes people need to hear, look, I went through this and this and this, and this is where I am today. So if there's someone that's listening and watching that is feeling that,
right,
as someone who has gone through that, what would you tell them? What would your advice be?
Well, you're talking to a guy who has 22 arrests,
Wow.
3 felony convictions, 7.5 years in the prison system, all behind just one more drink or one more drug.
One more.
So today, I always share my story. I went from DOC, which is Department of Corrections, to CEO, which I am a CEO of a nonprofit, back to DOC.
Wow.
So, some of the things that have taken place in my life are nothing short of miracles.
Sure.
By the grace of God, I'm able to go places and do things and help people that were just like myself that I would have never had the ability to do. So if that's you, if you're there, no matter where you are, sitting on your couch in your mom's basement or in your car, whatever situation you got going on, just know that you can get through it. Just know there is hope. There is hope, and there's hope all day, every day.
Awesome. And the help.
Yes.
That's what's so scary. A lot of times people feel like, well, who can I call? Where can I get help? And maybe, like Chris said, you felt so alone when you were released. You didn't feel connected or plugged in like today. Addicts are fortunate.
We have
today.
10 times as much resources now than we did when I came home, and that was
Wow.
2000, 2001.
So
There's way more resources today to help people. There's hotline numbers and all kind of different things available. Like I said, the Mobile One van, you can
a
get
van that will
treatment
come and
right
pick you up.
the same day. We've utilized that a lot.
Well, we have to say that we are actually encouraged to know that so many people are working towards the mission of fighting against the disease of addiction, and really fighting against death, because the ends seem to be always the same. Drug addicts die, and we lose individuals that we love and care about.
Yes.
So we have to thank you, Chris, for joining us today. And
Thanks
just
for having
remember,
me.
yes, reach out, call us, you or your loved ones, or if you're just someone that's dealing with trying to help someone in your life that's struggling and you're at the end of your rope, we're here to help you. And we just have to say, Chris, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for sharing
thank you.
your story, your personal story, and your soldier work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
you.
Chris. Yes.
Are you addicted to drugs? Narcotics Anonymous can help. If you are interested in Narcotics Anonymous and cannot make it to a physical meeting, or are wanting to experience the Fellowship of Recovering Addicts online, visit virtual-na.org to learn more about online meetings and meetings over the phone.
Looking at this Danube River architecture and the water line is absolutely remarkable. But when I think about what the Jews endured here in World War II, it's absolutely startling. Let's take a closer look down at the shoes on the Danube River. Standing here, taking a moment of reflection, thinking about the horrors that the Jews endured here during World War II. In some bitter winter months, the story's been told of how many were lined along these riverbanks, many who were shot naked, falling into the hands of the cold river on a winter's day or maybe even evening here in Budapest. This is the story that's told here, lying right here along the riverside. Although it is a tragic story told along this river line, we've come to see a people who, in spite of this terrible events that happen here along the Danube River, we have seen overcome and persevere, not only in these parts of Budapest, but in other parts of Europe. If the soul could be broken, wouldn't it be here? And if the spirit could be destroyed, couldn't it be here? But that is not the case. There is a story of inspiration that comes from the depths of these rivers. Hi, this is Charlene DeChico. You're watching Addiction and Recovery TV, and I'm standing here with the lovely Brittany, who's going to talk to us today about her experience with COVID-19. We know this year has been a gruesome year dealing with the virus. And so Brittany has experienced COVID-19 and she's going to tell us how she made it through to the other side. So welcome, Brittany. Thank you for joining us here today.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
So when did you find out you got COVID, or how did you find out?
So I found out because it was kind of just spreading through my family. My aunt got it, my sister got it, my niece got it, I got it.
Wow.
I gave it to my husband. It just spread pretty fast.
So the whole family gets COVID-19, and now does everybody get through to the other side? Did someone have a severe case, or how did the family respond to the virus?
Well, thankfully, we all got through it, and we're all okay. Not all of us had it easy. My sister was in the ICU for 5 days, and it was a pretty rocky road for her, but she did get out within about a week, and thankfully she's doing a lot better.
Awesome. Well, and so you're someone who says, okay, I this is something I'm dealing with, but I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to fight. Now, do you think that everybody in the family had that experience, or were you kind of like a cheerleader for others, or how did the morale of the family? I mean, this is a fearful, COVID-19 is like something associated with death. You know, people think of COVID and they think of death. And so you have to associate fear with that. And your experience was, very positive, like you said, but how about the rest of the family?
Yeah, my sister, she was super scared. She thought she was going to die. And so when I got that message from her, like telling me that she just really doesn't think she's going to make it, I just went into problem solving mode, and I reached out to my church, my pastor, my friends, like our family. And I just said, look, we need to rally around Ashley and get her better.
This season on Addiction and Recovery TV, that is what we want to highlight and focus on, the spiritual aspects of dealing with life on life's terms, and especially with COVID-19. We've had to deal with that this year. And so it's interesting to see how your family came together and used some spiritual principles to get on top of this. And you kind of took the lead on that, right?
Yeah, we just banded together. We prayed. We sent her, good messages, and just tried to stick in there, stick with it and stay positive and root her home. We wanted her home.
Wow. Well, you know what? COVID-19 stories don't always end well. And so I am super inspired. I hope the viewers out there are inspired of how Brittany dealt with COVID-19 with her whole family, and everybody got through. And Brittany looks amazing. She has an inspiring story to tell. And so thank you for sharing.
Have you ever felt like you're unsure of the future, or think that your past is going to stick with you? Do you have feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, and maybe no one believes in you, or you don't believe in yourself? Well, my name is Joe, and I'm here to tell you that if you check in with Addiction Recovery TV, we have plenty of stories of people like that, including myself. We ask that you tune in, contact us, and get to know stories of other people like yourself to give you some hope and some feedback and a new outlook on life and how to move forward, because it's possible.
At Addiction and Recovery TV, we talk about raising awareness, and we also talk about the problems and situations revolving around addiction and recovery. And it's always important to remember that if you struggle in an area and you're looking for help or resources, there are plenty available. And sometimes it just takes picking up the phone and making one simple phone call that can make all the difference. So remember, we're always available, and we're ready to help you in any way that we know possible, and definitely lead you in the right direction, because along the pathway of darkness, there is a light of hope along those roads. So hopefully you will be open to see the light and walk in that direction. So if it's mental health, if it's addiction, even suicide, the help is always readily available. Just take that initiative to reach out and receive it.
Many people have been touched by addiction, either directly or indirectly. Join us as we educate and break the stigma associated with addiction. Together, we can start a revolution and bring the disease out of the darkness and into the light.
I was 26 years old. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of a movie theater getting high.
I was an outcast my whole life, like I didn't know where I belonged.
Knocking my head against the wall over and over and over again.
So I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I heard a message that made my ears pop.
People who I can relate to and identify with. Managed to heal relationships, start families, and be happy with life.
Drug problem? We can help. We've been there. Narcotics Anonymous.
Are you addicted to drugs? Narcotics Anonymous can help. If you are interested in Narcotics Anonymous and cannot make it to a physical meeting, or are wanting to experience the Fellowship of Recovering Addicts online, visit virtual-na.org to learn more about online meetings and meetings over the phone.